Hey everybody, Andrew Zimmern here. It is the essence of summer. Spinach and ricotta nudie with a fantastic succotash with summer sweet corn, chorizo, and tomatoes. This is the light, summery bowl of awesome of your dreams. Come and get it. All right, so let's make this fantastic nudie together. Breadcrumbs. I have about 3/4 of a cup of panko breadcrumbs here, and I'm going to add an equal amount of Parmesan cheese, grated Reggiano Parmesan cheese. We mix those together. I'm going to add an egg, 1 egg, and then I'm going to add 1 egg yolk. And this is really important because we want to increase the amount of protein in there without adding all the rest of the eggy contributions that the whites would add. So we're then going to add 16 ounces of ricotta cheese. I use whole milk ricotta cheese, the really good stuff. Super creamy, reeking of dairy intensity. That is going to make our nudie the best nudie. I can just eat ricotta cheese just all the time. Nutmeg. A lot of recipes call for too much nutmeg, and that's because they think that most people are using, which they are, the already pre-ground stuff, which is really, really, really faint. If you have pre-ground, you may want to use up to 1/4 teaspoon. I use about 1/8 teaspoon of the fresh grated nutmeg. I use my microplane for that. Super simple, but it's so like deep and flavorful. 3/4 cup of flour. 12-ounce bag of frozen chopped spinach. 12-ounce bag, frozen chopped spinach. Defrost it, squeeze it out, and then flake the spinach into the bowl. Now, for me, the biggest job with this is breaking up all those little pieces of spinach, because once we've gone to all the trouble of squeezing it out, we wind up with these sort of like tight spinach pellets, and we don't quite get that flake back. So to restore the flakiness of the spinach, so we don't over mix this, which is always a problem, I just like to, dump this in the bowl and then squeeze these little pieces, or unsqueeze these little pieces of spinach, so we get that really great flake there. I like a garlic clove in my nudie, and I pass that on a microplane, because the last thing I want is for anyone to bite down onto a big wad of raw garlic. And believe me, that is what would happen if we left a big chunker in there, because the nudie's not going to take long to cook. Now we got to get our salt, our pepper, and our lemon zest. Lemon, same microplane. For those of you that don't have a microplane, you can see whether you want to make short work of a garlic clove, grate nutmeg, zest citrus, so many things you can do with microplanes. And I just keep running my microplane over the yellow part of the lemon until it's bald, and I have a microplane filled with lemon zest. Now, just knock that in there. It helps when mixing it. I happen to like nudie that has a lot of brightness from lemon, and the reason is I'm going to sauce this nudie, remember, with tomatoes, corn, chilies, and I love what lemon does with those flavors, so kind of important. And maybe add a little lemon juice from there as well. Now we have all the ingredients. Oh, salt and pepper. I have some salt. I have some pepper. Now we mix. Best tool in the kitchen is the human hand. Just go nice and slow at first. And the reason we go nice and slow at first is that if we went really fast, all of the flour and all of the breadcrumbs would erupt out of the bowl and onto the cutting board. We've got all that absorbed. I can really mix it better, faster, with a little more rigor, so I get things like the garlic and the lemon to disperse in there more evenly. And this is nice, and I don't know, what would I compare this to? Bread dough. It's very, very similar to bread dough. That's good. We're gonna let that rest while we start to get together the ingredients for the rest of our dish. Okay, I have some beautiful chorizo here. This is nice, soft chorizo. It's not dry and hard like hard salami. It's not aged that much. And I'm just gonna slice it into thin rings. The marriage of pork and corn is legendary. And I'm just gonna stir this in room temperature at the last moment into my sauce. And of course, cured pork with that ricotta mixture is gonna be fantastic. I would use the whole thing if I wanted it to be a major player. I'm just using about 4 ounces because it's going to be a complimentary player in this dish. Onion is what is going to start out my sauce. I'm gonna caramelize some onion before I add my corn. Give that a nice hard sear before I add my butter and my chilies. So a word about chilies. I am making this dish with Calabrian chilies that I buy online. You can get them in any supermarket has them. Many different brands. Divina carries jars of crushed Calabrian chilies. They're fantastic. I love it. A tablespoon or so of that. You don't want it too hot. If you don't have that, you can add some green chilies from your garden. I have some serranos in here minced up. I'm gonna add a little bit of both. I've got my corn and cherry tomatoes ready to go, and I've got my butter. Those are all ingredients for my sauce. And like I said, I may add some of that lemon juice that was reserved. But now that my nudie has rested, I'm going to take my, what is this, a 2-ounce scoop? And I'm going to take my bowl of nudie, and I'm simply going to make a little scoop like this, give it a quick roll so that it's round, and just spin this around in my semolina and let that come to a rest. Now, the reason why I like to use this scoop and not just keep reaching in with my fingers and plucking out balls of it is that it makes them all uniform. It also keeps my hands cleaner, right? By doing that, it just makes it easier to work through. If you find that the nudie is sticking to your hands too much, just moisten them with a little bit of cold water. You'll notice one thing about my nudie that's different than others. I have a lot of spinach. Well, I shouldn't say a lot of spinach. I have more spinach in there than other people typically call for in their recipes. I don't want cheese balls. I want spinach and ricotta balls. And I think there's a big difference. A little butter in the pan. Onions. Let's caramelize them. All right. You can see starting to caramelize and turn brown. That's what we're looking for. In goes my corn. All these pieces that I cut off the cob will break up as we saute this. A little bit of chili. A little bit of my Calabrian chili. And give that a nice little saute. You want to sort of caramelize the sambal in there as well. It just turns it a lovely color. Now that corn was blanched using my famous in the microwave technique. So it's almost cooked all the way through. So we can set that aside and bring in our big old pot of boiling water, or almost boiling water. I just put my corn to the side. We'll let that heat through because I don't want to add my chorizo or my tomatoes too soon because I want those to be popping fresh. I don't want them to be overcooked. As soon as the water's boiling, we'll cook our nudie. All right, water is boiling. Adding my nudie to the water. Now, there's 6 of them. 7, 8, 9. I have another 9 of them. Oh, I guess I can put 3 more. I can see them on the bottom there. You don't want to crowd the pot too much. I can literally see that none are on top of each other, which is perfect. The key here is to make sure that you have them in a single layer on the bottom and not too crowded, so as they cook, they float up to the surface. All right, and you can see within about, I guess it's been about 40 seconds, we're coming back to a simmer. You don't want to rapidly boil until they start to set. You know, these are going to take a little more time than, say, gnocchi. They're not going to pop right up right away. And we want to make sure they're cooked all the way through, right? That's why I made sure to let them sit at room temperature. Well, about 2-3 minutes have gone by and they have popped up. And now we're going to let them simmer there because while they have popped up, they are not cooked all the way through. So we just want to simmer them for, I don't know, 2-3 minutes in the boiling water. I mean, remember, it's just cheese, flour, breadcrumb, and egg, right? So it's not like it's a dense piece of meat that needs to cook all the way through. But you don't want raw egg, raw flour taste in the middle of that. You want it cooked just to the point of being done. And don't be afraid of that sort of extra clouding in here. That's the reason we roll them in semolina, so they have a chance to set in there, and the semolina will come off while the nudie sets on the outside and doesn't disintegrate on us. It's also why we don't boil it so quickly. So good. Put a couple of scoops of this beautiful, I don't know, what do we call this? Chorizo Succotash. Bring our nudie over. And put 3 of those, just nestle them, right? Those look great. They're nice and hot. And then last but not least, some fresh parm. I lied. Let's put a little olive oil around the outside of that. And there we have it. Spinach Gnudi with a Chorizo Succotash. How nice is that? Just screams summer, doesn't it? So what do these incredible balls of awesome taste like? Oh, I was hoping that you would ask that question. They taste like the garden. I mean, the nudie are fantastic, but it's that corn and chorizo and Calabrian chili butter that makes the whole thing worthwhile. It's really good food.